Education, May 15th, 2018 at 7 o'clock p.m. Kathy, can you please call the roll?
Baby Barr.
Here.
Blakely. Here. Dryden.
Yep.
Gaspar.
Here.
Locke.
Here.
Nope. Drummond.
Here. And Justin, could you please lead us in the pledge in your last meeting?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Dr. Teams, are there any items to be added to or removed from the agenda?
There are none.
Excellent. Then the first thing we'd like to do is celebrate. Tonight, I'd like to invite Deb Griselle up. We're going to have Can-Do Awards tonight. Educators, please join me. I'll make her sit out there all by herself.
You're not using the screen on, I can scoot way over here so they can all
We like to be able to take it.
Yeah, I thought that'd be easier for you if I'm not, because I'm not in the pictures, right?
No, I still can make it work.
No, I don't want to take over your court. No, that's all right. We all do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it is my pleasure tonight to celebrate with you 8 exemplary educators from Batavia Public Schools. Can-Do has been awarding this recognition to educators now for 5 years, and it's my favorite part of every year. So I want to thank each of them again for all that they do. For gifted students and all students, we celebrated together at a reception at Batavia High School before coming here tonight. They had a chance to talk to each other, which was nice as well, and to hear from the parents and students who nominated them, indicated their comments as they nominated them for exemplary educators. So, without further ado, let me announce to you the winners of this year's Exemplary Educator Award. In the category of BPS administrator or other individual who's not a classroom teacher, we had 2 recipients this year. One is Sue Gillerlane, who is the BPS communications director. And the other, and this is the first time that we've had a learning center director nominated, was Ms. Cheryl Cole from Hoover. In the category of Batavia High School Humanities, Arts, or Social Sciences teacher, Kimberly Perlman, an English teacher. In the category of Batavia High School Science, Technology, Engineering, or Mathematics teacher, Jean Corkery. We have 2 Rotolo Middle School teachers that we're honoring this year. One is Jean Fahey, who's a social studies teacher. The other is Amy Powell, and she's the first nominee in her area, which is Family and Consumer Science teacher. And yet again, we get to honor Mr. Scott Hunter, who's a 4th grade teacher at J.B. Nelson School, who's the East Side Elementary educator. And last but not least, we have Mrs. Kristen O'Brien, who is a kindergarten teacher at H.C. Storm, and she is the West Side Elementary exemplary educator. Did you get your picture?
I did.
Awesome.
Good job.
Thanks.
All right, the next item on our agenda is public comments. We ask that anyone who wants to make public comments get a pink sheet from Kathy Scafidi. I do have one public comment request tonight, but if anyone else wanted to speak tonight, please grab that sheet from Kathy so we can fit you in. We ask when you address the board that you would come to the table so we can all hear you. We want you to know that we don't enter into discussion at that time, but if you would like to be contacted by anyone on the administration or the board afterward, please let Kathy Scafidi know and we can make sure that that happens. All right, so I would like to invite Lisa Barnes to the table.
Congratulations.
Not sure.
I just wanted to
I don't know if you remember us from last time, but I just wanted to say on behalf of the 4th grade parents at Grace McLean School, we greatly appreciate you guys approving a 3rd section for our 4th graders, for our future 4th graders. Thank you for respectfully giving us a voice as parents to advocate for our children and listening. To that, please know that this decision will positively impact at least 67 4th grade students of different educational needs and will allow for the teachers to do their best work, which is just helping our kids grow in their academic needs. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it. This was my husband's first board meeting, so.
Stick around, it won't go long.
That'll wait, Jim.
Come to wrap me.
Unfortunately, we do not have anybody from the BEA here tonight, so we would like to move on to student ambassadors.
Okay, so it's senior week at Batavia High School, which is crazy to think that they're leaving, but tomorrow is Rent a Senior Day, which is sponsored by, well, the whole week is sponsored by NHS. So that's usually the most hectic day of the year with people riding around on crazy automobiles and such. Yeah, it should be fun. And then Thursday is Meme Day, so everyone's gonna be dressed like memes. And then Friday is College T-shirt Day. So it'll be interesting to see where everyone's going, even though most people know because of the big map that got put up. And then next week, Tuesday is the senior breakfast, and Wednesday is graduation, and then they're gone.
I need someone to paint my house, and I'm just asking about senior rent a senior.
And then for me, I just wanted to personally say thank you for having me as a student ambassador. I really enjoyed being here for the last 2 years. I feel like I've learned a lot, and I really enjoyed representing the voice of the state. So I just want to say thank you.
Where are you off to?
Yeah, Justin, you didn't think you were gonna get off that easy.
I know.
So the plan was to attend Johns Hopkins to study applied math, but actually like a couple of hours ago, I found out that I got off a wait list at Brown.
Oh, no.
So
Justin,
now
I'm so confused.
yeah, so,
I'm very confused. What?
yeah, so I get to choose
Rhode-
between the two of them.
Rhode Island? Brown?
Yeah, Providence.
They have their class schedule, that's an open education.
Yes,
You
yeah.
can take, you don't have requirements, you can take whatever you want in
Yeah,
the
they don't-
program.
Yeah.
What an excellent opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm so pleased for you.
Thanks.
And you're still
Wow.
gonna study applied math.
Yeah, I'm still studying applied math either way, but yeah, now I get to choose between the two of them. So I think we're scrambling to get some plane tickets to try to fly around and see the campuses, but kind of hectic, but very exciting. So,
Oh, well.
Good for you, man.
So done.
All right.
So we're ready?
We're ready.
So I have the honor of, again, thanking Justin for 2 years of service as our student ambassador. So you want to come up here? And again, the board always appreciates this role. It's a very important role, and you've been fabulous. And so we wish you, all of us, nothing but luck on your next adventure. And be really smart. So that's for you. Thank you. Oh, did you get a picture?
You need to send word with what.
Exactly, what you decide.
yeah, I'll keep you guys updated.
I mean, my goodness.
Yeah, I'm pushing for Brown me, but you know, do what you gotta do.
It's not like your other options stinks or anything, so.
Tough fallback.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you, Justin, thank you very much.
Cheers, man.
And on that note, I would like to invite up here Olivia Murchie, who is going to be our new student ambassador, and I'm gonna have the privilege of swearing her in tonight. I do need my glasses. And unfortunately, Mr. Lowe is not here, who helps me in this, but we're going to go ahead. So, Olivia, welcome. And if you could please raise your right hand, right? And repeat after me. I, Olivia Murchie.
I, Olivia Murchie,
do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will faithfully discharge
that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of student ambassador
the duties of student ambassador
of the Board of Education
of the Board of Education
of Batavia Public School District 101
of Batavia Public School District 101
in accordance with the policies
in accordance with the policies
of the Board of Education.
of the Board of Education.
I further affirm that
I further affirm that
I shall encourage and respect
I shall encourage and respect
the free expression of opinion
the free expression of opinion
by myself, board members,
by myself, board members,
and others who seek a hearing before the board.
and others who seek a hearing before the board.
Congratulations and welcome. We have big plans for our student ambassadors.
Yeah.
Very well.
Thank you.
You read off that sheet awesomely.
Well, you know,
Great job.
I have my glasses.
It's a little less dicey than NHS the other night, right?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that was fun.
Chris, you forgot to shout out one thing. State.
Oh my gosh, yes. Girls leave for state on Friday, track and field. So
That's exciting.
we wish them well on their way. I'm sure they'll do good, and they're super fast.
They are. Sorry, Gallup. Because who's going from?
Who is running state?
Tori
for sure.
That's the name.
Anna Knudsen,
Yes.
Mary Grace Golden, Davinia, no, not Davinia Wilson, Simone, and I don't know Simone's last name. Houston Davis, and Sabrina Schlenker,
That's so exciting.
right? Did I get them all?
It's a good number.
They're
Yes.
looking it up.
Okay.
Wow, you're good.
Amy Blake is an alternate. I'm just kidding. So they're amazing. It's amazing. So watching these girls run is amazing. So I do wish them luck. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, the next item on our agenda is our consent agenda, which is our way of streamlining meetings. We take one vote on a number of routine business items.
Wait, did you have a board member come? Any board
Oh,
member?
I'm sorry, you know what, you're right, because I skipped over that 'cause I didn't have a committee.
Okay.
I was all excited to move on. Committee updates, did anyone have any committee meetings since our last meeting? Okay, so,
Staff committee met all-day supper last Wednesday.
oh, that's right, you got that marathon.
We did. We're very close to the end. I would like to... Thank you, guys. So long. I would like to thank everyone on that committee who's just done exemplary work. There's been a lot of difficult decisions. The motto all the way through has been the values have been fair and equitable. I will tell the board, don't expect a lot of savings and stipends. That's not really the road we went down. What we went down was the road of making things fair and equitable. But I'm very, very, very pleased and comfortable with the models that we've built, and I think that you will appreciate them as well. We have a final meeting Monday,
Monday.
And then when will everything be rolled out?
and then I think,
Well, we're gonna finalize that on Monday.
yeah, I think there may be a few tweaks down the road,
Yeah.
but
We're hoping to get some communication out before the end of the year, which is tight.
Hey, John, can I ask you a question? Is the committee at all working on possible evaluations or parent and player and committee member,
No.
student feedback at all?
What the committee's looking at is value of work and how we're paying that, and making it as just and equitable as we possibly can. And one thing you have to remember is this, no one's really taken a look at these stipends for 30 years. So it really required an overhaul. And what we've done is overhauled the entire schedule. So what you're going to look at will be something completely new and different. But I believe, to the very best ability of our ability, that we really followed those values to make things just and equitable.
Tina, let me just jump in real quick, sorry. We did at the beginning of, and John may not remember this, we did at the beginning of this direct the athletic directors at the high school and at the middle school to collaborate together and develop a kind of model. So that will be coming. But to John's answer, our primary focus as of right now has been to focus on that. But we're working on the question you asked.
And not only in athletics, but also in other areas.
The entire schedule.
Okay, great.
Right.
It's coming.
Okay.
Is it going to be a little more condensed?
I think so.
Maybe, do you know what I'm saying, rather than?
Well, it's not so much condensed as differently defined.
Sensible.
If you'll be, if you'll be patient with us, I think once it's laid out, I think it will make sense.
It just seemed like.
Well, what we did, the old schedule had all these different clubs and sports at multiple different levels, all jammed into one schedule. And so what we ended up with, we ended up breaking things out. That there's a plan for elementary club stipends. There's a plan for middle school sports, middle school fine arts, high school sports, high school fine arts. Because as we really process through at all the different levels and the different opportunities, they all look a little bit different. So as opposed to jamming them all into one and making it fit, we really created models that were very sensible. So it's simplified a little bit in different schedules. Instead of one giant one, there's smaller ones.
This is why I brought my lawyer.
All right, anyone else with committee updates? Facilities committee met, I could not come, I don't know if Dr. Hutchins, if there, I know you did building tours.
We've, the facilities committee has been touring buildings. We've done the maintenance facility and 7 of the 8 schools. And so we've spent about an hour in each of the buildings. During the school day, the committee wanted to see what the building looked like while it was in use. So we just have one more school to go to. Then we picked our summer dates. In June, we'll be processing that feedback as a group before our June board meeting here. Actually, the facilities committee is going to meet. July, we're going to work on setting our standards. So as they were walking through the facilities, they were thinking about standards that they would set for the building itself, for the classroom spaces, for the shared spaces, and for safety. And so they would, that will be our next step at our July meeting, is to set those standards and then eventually evaluate the buildings according to those standards. It's been a busy couple weeks for the facilities.
Yeah, out and about. Anyone else? All right, well, we just recently met as a board, so that probably might explain why we haven't had so many committees. All right, now we're back to the consent agenda. So we'll be taking one vote on a number of routine items. They're all laid out in the board book with the supporting documentation. And Mr. Pierce, will you take us through the consent agenda, please?
Absolutely. 5.1 is the approval of the regular meeting minutes from May 1st of 2018. 5.2 is our personnel report. 5.3 is our payroll and bills. 5.4 is the AP government textbook approval, which has been out front for folks to review for a while. 5.5 is the designation of authorized depositories for the school district. 5.6 is the purchase of insurance for our Chromebooks. 5.7, approval of the contract for web filtering. 5.8, approval of new lunch prices. And 5.9 is the approval of the entire consent agenda.
All right, so are there any items on that agenda for removal or for clarification?
How were the community reviews on the textbook?
We did not receive any comments over the course.
Madam President, I would like to pull out 5.6 for a separate vote.
The insurance for Chromebook?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
I have a question on 5.8. It's just a question.
Yeah.
Are we raising the price of lunches? And maybe I just didn't read it correctly. But the way it just seems like it's worded, it's throughout the entire district. So does that mean the lunch at the high school is going up also?
No, just for lunches on schools, for schools on the national school.
On the national, okay. Because that makes sense, because I know the high school is not, so, okay.
Right. The action says all schools.
But yeah, that's why I was just confused.
Any other questions, comments? All right, then I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda with 5.6 insurance for Chromebooks removed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Locke, second by Beatty Bar. Kathy, could you please call the roll?
Beatty Bar.
Yes.
Blakely.
Yes.
Drummel.
Yes.
Dryden.
Yes.
Gaspar.
Yes.
Locke.
Yes.
All right, John, insurance for Chromebooks, questions, concerns?
I've asked for a separate vote on this because I have never supported the one-on-one program. I don't see that the expenditure on this is equal to the educational benefit, so it is my habit to vote no on every appropriation of the Chromebooks, and that's why I wanted it separate in a separate vote, so
Okay,
I didn't have to vote no on the rest of the consent agenda.
excellent, thanks, John. All right, so if there's no other questions, I would entertain a motion to approve the purchase of insurance for Chromebooks.
Second.
Moved by Locke, second by Blakely. Kathy, could you please call the roll?
Beatty Bar.
Yes.
Blakely.
Yes.
Dryden.
No.
Gaspar.
Yes.
Locke.
Yes.
Drummel.
Yes. All right, next item on our agenda are our standard reports.
So there's a treasurer's report if you had any questions, and also this other report, 6.2, the Board of Education meeting dates. We brought this earlier, I think January or February, because we wanted people to be able, because we wanted people to be able to put it on their calendars. But since board policy says that it will appear in May on the board agenda, I wanted to make sure we had it here as well in case the community was looking for it. So this is unchanged from what we discussed at the last meeting in January.
Any questions on those dates?
We don't really have to vote on it, we just have to present it at a public meeting in May.
Excellent. All right, then we will move on to our public hearing. We have amendments to the 2018 budget, and by law, we hold a public hearing prior to adoption or amending our budget. So I'd like to open the hearing now. We did not have anybody
Yeah, we'll start with, Tony will give an overview, and then if anybody wanted to
comment.
yeah,
Do they need
we could just,
Excellent, all right,
with this crowd.
with our crowd.
So we don't typically amend our budget. We're currently in the 2018 fiscal year. The reason why we're amending our budget this year is because we miscoded a few expenditures related to employee benefits into an administrative area of which that is capped, and that cap is at 5%. And the cap is typically, for salaries for the superintendent and for the business office, those sorts of things. And so they were actually benefits that applied to all employee groups, and they don't necessarily belong in those very specific administrative areas. So we corrected that, but to correct that, obviously, we have to send to the state board an amended budget. So that's what's driven this. We've also taken the opportunity to update our revenues and expenditures based off of what we know now. Although it's funny, at this point in the year, you'd think we know exactly where we're going to end up the fiscal year. Unfortunately, we don't really. We know more. We're getting closer and closer. We really won't know where we actually end the fiscal year until September when we get the audit report back. We'll be getting more property tax revenues in this fiscal year than we originally had anticipated. One of the things that I didn't catch when I drafted the original budget was that we didn't receive as many property taxes in the prior fiscal year as we usually do. And I should have, but those people have paid their taxes, and now they're been paid to the treasurer, and the treasurer has paid us, and so they have fallen into this fiscal year. So it doesn't necessarily mean we have more money to play with in a given year. It just means that I should have done a better job looking at how we appropriate our property taxes. So that was close to $1 million. And then we've received some additional money from the state board. We're actually coming out a little further ahead with this new funding formula. We'll get another $150,000. We were expecting to kind of land even in the tier that we're in. We're in tier 3, which means that we're 93% adequacy in terms of how much the state believes that it requires, how many funds it requires to educate a student in a given year. So we're not tier 4, which is 100% adequacy. We've got 7% to go. We're relatively close to tier 2, which would give us significant boost in funding if we were in that tier. But that's where we land nonetheless. We were also going to receive more revenues in terms of transportation than I had originally anticipated. So that's we're going to end the year likely with a surplus of about $2.5 million, which is about $1.5 million more than we had anticipated when we adopted this budget in September, which is good news in terms of building our fund balances.
Reserve fund?
Pardon?
Reserve fund?
Reserve. We don't have a reserve fund per se, but yes, it helps us. And as you know, we just issued tax anticipation warrants in the amount of $5 million so that we could make payroll this month. So that will help us. We won't likely need to borrow as much money to make the payrolls when it comes to about this time next year. I'm hoping that we can continue to improve our fund balances in this manner in future years so we can stop doing that, because it's an indicator of fiscal unhealthiness. Even though we're a relatively affluent school district, it's an indicator of issues with your fiscal health, and so hopefully we can get that resolved. But otherwise, our fund balances are just too low overall. But apart from that, we're looking good. In addition to that, we also need to make some interfund transfers for a couple of reasons. One, we try to budget as close to what actually happens with what our auditors do at the end of the year. And one of the things that they're required to do is move expenditures for capital leases into the debt service fund. Even though we raise taxes in the education fund to pay for capital leases, things like our copiers and our computers and our lease on our maintenance shop, that comes from the operations and maintenance levy. We have to move that money into the debt service fund and pay for it there because it's considered long-term debt. So that's two sets of interfund transfers, and the final set of interfund transfers is $1.6 million out of the operations and maintenance fund to the capital projects fund, and it's a practice that we've been doing the last couple of years. Because our capital projects don't necessarily fall neatly within fiscal years. We'll start a project, or a project will get delayed and might get paid later. We've been moving that money into the capital projects fund. It's kind of like a savings account. That way we can have nice even expenditures each year that we dedicate toward improving our buildings and capital maintenance, those sorts of things. But even though we don't necessarily spend it in that exact year. And you'll note this year that we're going to spend, if our memory serves, something like $750,000 more than we took in that fund, but we had paid for it in the prior year. So amended budget for administrative cost cap, higher surplus of roughly about $2.5 million, a little better than we had expected. We also have, as you know, as we approved last month, significant cost increases for medical insurance, and so that's going to be, that'll exceed our new revenue next year, so that won't continue, but also the interfund transfers. So now is when I would recommend that we have a public hearing so that we can hear from the public, that we can make these changes to our budget and for these interfund transfers.
We'll start with anyone from our audience that would care to comment, question during our public hearing. All right, do any board members have questions, comments? All right, then I would close the public hearing. We'll move on to the action portion of our agenda. First item is...
So the first item would be the amendment of the budget. I just summarized that, and my recommendation would be to approve the 2018 budget amendment as presented.
So yes, I would entertain a motion to recommend the amendments that Tony outlined during the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Dryden, second by Gaspar. Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Baby Barr.
Yes.
Blakely.
Yes.
Dryden.
Yes.
Gaspar.
Yes.
Locke.
Yes.
Dremmel.
Yes. Second item on our action is the approval of the interfund transfers. So I would entertain a motion to approve the transfers as outlined by Mr. Iglesias during the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Gaspar, second by Dryden.
Hold on.
Sorry.
Gaspar, Dryden, sorry. Okay, ready?
Yes.
Okay. Baby Barr.
Yes.
Blakely.
Yes.
Dremmel.
Yes.
Dryden.
Yes.
Gaspar.
Yes.
Locke.
Yes.
All right.
So items 8.2 through 8.6 will be summarized by Mr. Siebel.
8.3.
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me,
8.3,
8.3, 8.6.
Is it possible for us to consider these three together as a single one?
The projectors, the backup software, and the network firewall. Is there any?
Is there an objection on that?
I have no objection to that.
So 8.3 to 8.6 as a single row?
Yeah, does anyone have a
You could also do
question?
a voice vote if you chose.
I thought when we spent a certain amount of money.
Only when you're doing resolutions for bonds and those sorts of things.
Thanks, Tony. Can you try your roll call vote?
If you want to streamline this as much as possible.
You, Mr. Roberts, at schools.
I appreciate the information. Mr. Seawall,
Hello.
draw us with these technology. Let's go.
All right. Well, we can start with the classroom projectors. For a number of years, we've been watching them age. The newest projectors currently, for the most part, are at the high school when the renovation occurred. And we have some projectors in use in the East Side Elementary that are from 2005. I don't know if you recall that we replaced this projector and that one was pretty bad, and so we have some failing projectors that have served a long life, and we built the projector replacement plan into the capital projects plan. So, and that's been a couple years in the making, and we're at the point where we are ready to do about almost a third of the projectors this year, and then the remaining projectors will be next year.
How do you get a bulb for a 2005 projector?
We still can get them. They're more expensive than a new bulb, and but we haven't needed to replace too many of the bulbs. The projectors have failed before we've had to replace them. So we have been replacing projectors as we've been going.
I do note with this plan that we can go wireless with the projectors, which as a former classroom teacher, I can tell you will be invaluable. So I'm glad that we're going to have that ability.
We've done some piloting and it's been very well received. The teachers have.
Very, very good thing.
So you want to keep going on?
Keep going.
Let's just go.
So the data backup software that we've been using for a number of years has been discontinued, and we need to get something current that we can use in the event that we need to restore files. We do use it from time to time, and it's pretty critical to lose, whether it be a server or even just personal information that a staff member might have.
This is not something we can do through, say, the Google Cloud?
Some files could go through the Google Cloud, but many files could not. Like, we have files that represent an entire server that are not part of the Google Cloud, and so we do need to back up infrastructure files as well.
Software that everyone logs in to check their grades. What is that? So we run PowerSchool locally, or is that a service?
It is a in-house server.
So that we back up on this as well?
Yes.
Yeah. That's pretty priceless.
The network firewalls that we currently have in use are about at end of life. We have spent a good deal of time comparing multiple products. We have found the same company that we're currently using that we've been very happy. It happened to be the lowest price. They are much more capacity that 6 years ago when we got the old ones, we weren't one-to-one. So there will be we'll get a lot more than we currently have. And we have 5-year support built into the new firewalls. And the last one is both the high school and the middle school have expressed a desire to increase the number of cameras in use in their buildings. We worked with the building administration as well as the safety officer and resource officer of those buildings, identifying areas that they think could have used additional camera. These will be the first camera additions since the system was implemented in 2009, and they just were very strategic in where they thought they could use additional coverage.
So are these compatible with what we have, or is it going to be a different system?
Compatible.
Okay.
Inside and outside schools?
Only interior.
Only interior.
Any other questions? All right, then I would entertain a motion to approve the purchase of classroom projectors, the purchase of data backup software, the purchase of network firewalls, and the purchase of additional surveillance cameras, as presented by Mr. Seabaugh.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Gaspar, second by Bainbar. And in effort to streamline our meeting, we'll take a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, that was exciting. Changes up.
Yeah.
Cafeteria tables, Mark Anderson will present
He
that.
gets all the fun stuff, doesn't
He
he?
does get the really fun stuff.
These cafeteria tables, if you remember, I was here, I don't know how many months ago, for the high school ones, and the middle school ones, we did anticipate they would be coming. I'm glad they're coming to you sooner than later, considering those tables at the middle school are as old as the middle school, which are 26 years old. Right. I don't know how much more you really need to know. I mean, they're 26 years old. We've done what we could. Yeah, I mean, if you have questions, I would be more than happy to get into the specific details.
Tables coming in high school and middle school next year, right?
If all goes well, the high school tables will be arriving as the seniors will be exiting.
Oh, so they're coming soon?
Yeah, they'll be here this week, actually.
So then Rotolos will be here for next
Rotolos
year?
will, if all goes well, and tonight, and I can get this order in. The goal is there to be the first day of school. That's getting in this late, I mean, in the production, I mean, this is when they're all produced. Maybe, I can't give a yes.
It's not my want to intervene in the purchase at this point. I do hope if these tables last 26 years, we're buying them from the same company.
You know what, that company, it actually isn't to be, so parts and things like that are.
Okay.
All right, then I would entertain a motion to approve the purchase of cafeteria tables as presented. Moved by Blakely, second by Locke. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I know, we're just keeping you jumping tonight, Kathy. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, motion carries.
It's the only way we're gonna vote from now on.
We're gonna be like,
And Lindsay John will present the food service management contract.
1, 2, 3, go.
So we are coming off our 5th year with Quest Food Management, and part of the state of Illinois guidelines, we're required to bid out food service every 5 years. So we started with Quest at the start of the 13-14 school year. We've been working on the bid process over the last several months. And as you recall, at the start of the 15-16 school year is when we took the high school off the National School Lunch Program. That change has done well. Our per capita, that's the number that we look at to determine sales, but that has increased from 86 cents to $1.61 in the past, well, since that time, since the 15-16 school year. So it's trending in a good direction. Students are purchasing food and they enjoy the food service that Quest provides. So the bid process, we received 2 bids. We had a lot of interested parties, but we only received 2 bids. The Quest was the low bidder at just over $595,000. The second lowest bid was from Arbor Management, and that was around $680,000. So we're recommending a renewal, not even a renewal, but a new contract with Quest. It would be a 1-year contract, and then with the option to renew an additional 4 years. And the total estimated contract cost is just over $987,000, and that's determined by our sales, so it should be somewhere around there.
So just to be clear, the difference between the bid and the total contract amount, the bid is for the National School Lunch Program schools, and the additional amount is for what it'll cost. We anticipate sales will be increased. And just an interesting note, I wish you guys actually had a choice here, but you don't. You have to approve this currently, unless we didn't want to have food service provided by Quest or anybody. but this frankly is the most regulated area of schools in Illinois. And literally to put out the bid, we had to send our bid to the state board. They had to approve it. When people ask us questions, we have to send responses to their questions to the state board for their approval. We have to send the bid responses to the board, or to the state board for their approval. And we're gonna have to send your approval of their approval back to the state board. An original copy, like they will not take a fax, they will not take a photocopy. We have to send the original copy to the state board. So it's really crazy what they make us do in this particular program, but everything is detailed. There is literally no choice.
A couple of comments and a question, and I'm going to second what you said, because I had some questions this morning, Lisa, between 5-8 and 8-8 and trying to figure a lot of stuff out, so I was doing a bit of research, and the regulation boggled the mind. I, in my couple of years here on the board, have seen emails from many of our constituency about a lot of different issues, all over the board. I've never seen a complaint on the food service and lunch program. So I personally feel very comfortable in renewing that contract. In the absence of any negative feedback, I personally don't eat the school lunches anymore.
did on our tour day, it was pretty good.
You can, and my recollection of at least the high school food program, it was very good. Can you give me some idea why these bids came in almost $100,000 apart? I mean, when did Arbor give you, I know they don't look at each other's bids, but I'm just, sometimes when I get bids this far apart, I ask myself, how is that?
Yeah, so each bidder received the same information. In fact, they knew what we were currently paying, so they were working off the same information. Honestly, I think Quest just really wanted our business and they enjoy doing business here. That price that they actually gave us is less than what we pay currently. It's I think like 4% less than our current rates. Aside from that, not sure.
The customer generally like to keep relationships.
Well, I'm always a little skeptical of things when prices go down. Forgive me.
Oh, no? Because I don't think food prices are going down.
No.
But I have to say, the Quest food, from when my kids started in this district many years ago, is so much better than what we had years ago. I'm very pleased that we're sticking with it.
So you're happy to rubber stamp that?
Yes.
Let's
vote.
Has Quest then, through the last few years, especially at the high school, been taking surveys or anything on the kids and seeing a trend of the foods? Is that why the increase is starting to go up instead of the food being wasted from before?
Yeah, ice cream day, that's why.
We're part of the student advisory group at the high school, so they meet, I'm not sure how many times a year, but they meet with the students and get their feedback and talk about menu items that they want to see, and it's a very collaborative group, so they've been a part of that.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, any other questions?
Call the question, please.
Then I would entertain a motion to recommend approval of a one-year renewable food service management contract with Quest Food Management with an estimated annual cost of $970,605.
So moved.
Okay. Moved by Locke, second by Blakely. Are you ready, Kath? We're gonna just
Ready to go.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you, Quest. That is all of the action on our agenda tonight. We'll next move on to administration and board comments. Operations.
Happy summer to everybody.
Happy summer. All right, any board comments?
I wanted to thank Justin for his 2 years of service here for us. I mean, the ambassadors have been giving us good feedback from the high school with the committees that they've had with Joanne and a few others. So I appreciate that and wish Olivia luck in filling those shoes there. Thank you to everyone that spoke and sent us emails and letters. The can-do candidates, thanks. And then I wanted to thank Lisa and Tony, as John had said a little bit earlier, talking about questions and stuff that I brought up. And got answered, and I appreciate the time that they always give me on that. And I just want to say for the seniors, best of luck, good luck. And for those, if you, I don't know when this is going to be aired, but hopefully if it's before Wednesday, be careful driving out to DeKalb because it will take you a long time. It's down to one lane and it
On
took
38?
well, if you go to 88. I went out Friday to go to Iowa for my daughter's graduation. It took me an hour and 15 minutes to get to DeKalb. So I'm just saying, plan ahead, go a different route. And that was in the mid-afternoon, so not at rush hour. So be very careful, and good luck to our seniors. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. Anyone else have comments?
I would just like to thank the individual, I don't recall her name, who thanked the board for...
Lisa Barnes.
Lisa Barnes. Thank you, Lisa Barnes, for thanking the board. Although it wasn't warranted to the board, I want to be very clear about this. This was not in the hands of the board as much as we would have liked to accommodate you. It's not a board, it's not under our what word am I struggling for? Purview to do. This was an administrative decision, and they worked long and hard on making this work. So your thanks, as much as I welcome it for us who could do nothing, really belongs to the administration who worked long and hard to resolve that problem. So I would like to transfer that thanks to the people who deserve it. That's what I have.
I just want to say that going into year 2, I've learned that it's really, really expensive to run excellent schools. It's probably really expensive to run mediocre schools, to be truthful. But of all the things we voted on, all the money that we've spent, I think to myself, if you take any of those things out of the equation, it has a direct impact on the quality of the education of the kids that we have in this district. So it's really hard to provide a high level and for us to get it at only the highest level to make those choices. So I just want everybody to realize that it is really expensive to do what we do in this community, and we all play a role in it. As a taxpayer, I get it, but if I took something away, it would impact the quality of education that all these children are getting. And we have amazing seniors that are graduating on Wednesday that have been the fruits of all that labor that the community has poured into this district. So thanks.
Thanks. Anyone else?
I just want to, again, because it's our last meeting before graduation, which is always the highlight for myself and I think my other board members. It's just the best day of the year for us. That's why we do what we do, watching the kids cross the stage. So looking forward to that. And we had a great prom, very safe and great prom this year. So thank you to all our helpers and staff and the students. So summer will be good. Summer's here.
Yeah, thanks, Tina. Susan, do you have anything?
I just want to congratulate all the seniors, wish them the best in the future. And I do want to say thank you very much to Kathy and Tina and Amy for all their work on post-prom. It was wonderful. They did such a wonderful job. They deserve a little bit of credit for that. It's fun. A lot of work. A lot of fun. Because it's really fun staying up till 4 in the morning.
I've done that.
Yeah, I don't do it very often anymore. Only for Kathy.
Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, we do have closed session on the agenda tonight, but there will not be any action after closed session. So that wraps up our board comments and our action tonight. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn to closed session for the purpose of collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees.
So moved.
Second, that you, John Gaspar?
Yes.
Okay, moved by Gaspar, second by Blakely, or we have to do the roll call? Please vote. All right, all in favor?
Aye.